cool deal. What is good, guys? It is your boy Wally J, and I am back today with today's daily takeaway. This is going to be a new little series that I'm going to be running. I'm going to see how far I can go with it. The reason I'm saying daily is because I am going to be looking to read daily. So I figured why not hop on, take the 15 minutes that I read daily, go ahead, make a quick little video, quick little excerpt, be able to help you guys out and share what it is that I am learning, what I'm seeing. I used to do this a lot with my mentor back a couple years back, so I'm just kind of low-key getting back to it. Obviously, there was a little bit more of a dialogue when I was talking with them, but that is what the comment section is for. So definitely let me know what you guys are thinking. Just give me some ideas on what you have about society, what you would love to hear about through this series, and as we get into society and its norms and ultimately how we think and our nature coming into it. I think we talk a lot about nurture nowadays, but I think there are a lot of things that are within our nature, and I know Sapiens in particular is covering that. So hope you guys are ready for this. I am gonna just go ahead and hop into it. Today I was able to read through chapter 4 of Sapiens. For these who have not seen the first episode, definitely go back and check it out. We are reading Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. The first 3 chapters I think were really good. One thing I do want to mention that I did not bring up in that last one, and it's something that I'm going to continue to kind of bring up, this quote, is by giving language to experience, we gain awareness of our conceptual models of the world. I'm gonna get into that in here in a second, but I'll let you guys sit on that. It's a really strong quote, and I'll say it one more time. But by giving language to experience, we can gain awareness of our conceptual models of the world. I think this quote embodies what I am looking to do. Number one, reading these books, just in general, right? I think this is actually something that speaks to books in a general sense as well, because ultimately when you go and experience something, you don't actually have something to reference it back to, or the language, right? The ability to speak on it or think about it. You just don't even have the concept of it, right? How many times do you have a conversation with somebody, they share something, they give you some language that now unlocks something in your brain, and now everything that didn't make sense before now makes 100% sense. I think that's a big reason, this quote. I'm actually going to put this up here just because I love that. Like, I genuinely love that. So why are we going to be getting into Sapiens? Why are we looking to get into this book? I am going to look to share my why every time I, kind of have a chapter, just so that new and returning people, number one, we can remember why, but also the new people, you guys can kind of know why we're in this book and know kind of what we're getting into for this series. So I ultimately started looking into these books on society after watching the Barbie movie. I recognize that there are a lot of things that we have been really nurtured to do, and probably there are a lot of things that are against our nature. There's I think I mentioned in there was a lot of stuff that was good, a lot of stuff that was bad. So I figured, hey, let me deep dive into what society looks like, why we move the way we do, why we think the way that we think, and ultimately where all these kind of norms kind of came from. Are they all nurture, or did some actually come from our nature and how we moved well before time? So today we are in chapter 4, like I was saying, of Sapiens. This is the last chapter before we get to the agricultural revolution. Right now we've just kind of been talking about the cognitive revolution. The cognitive revolution is all about when we actually got a bigger brain. So it's not that we didn't have a brain, because everything has a brain, but we started getting a bigger brain. We started using more tools. We started stepping into hunting and gathering, moving in packs, and different things of that nature, right? We actually started being able to grow in bigger communities because now we had more language. We had no more ways to communicate, and we ultimately had more ways to just layer things. Like I said, if you guys want to get into that, definitely go check out the past video. Now, I titled this video "The World's Deadliest Creature," and I'm sure that you guys have a really good answer or a really good guess on what it is. Us 100%. We are probably on track, and I mean we kind of know it now, but back in the day, this is over between 70 and 45,000 years ago, 70,000 and 45,000 years ago, we extinct probably at least 100 species, that were over 100 pounds. So that's not even talking about all of the smaller ones, all of the things that kind of help those ecosystems run. Because as soon as you take out one piece, right, weaker pieces tend to go away. And the question is, were we the issue? Were we actually the problem, right? So I'm asking, like, are we actually the world's deadliest creature, or is this a level of which, like, we didn't fully have a part? It was kind of more of, you know, a lot of people would say climate, and just the different times that are going on. But let me get into that. So big question is, when did we become so dangerous? I think as humans. So obviously we started growing more dangerous and developing more tools and learning more ways to hunt. So effectively we were sharpening our craft, right? So we had probably a good thousands and thousands of years in Afro-Eurasia, the Afro-Eurasian space. And there are a lot of animals that obviously grew up with us, evolved with us. So they developed a level of fear, but also they just kind of understood what it is that we were going to be bringing to the table. Right now we look very weak. If I'm just honest, if you look at a human compared to most animals, we look very weak. We look very frail, and most things probably chew us up, and absolutely wreck us in the physical department, just to be honest. I mean, hey, sex. No, never mind. I'm not gonna get into all that. So we were developing all these skills. We still hadn't learned how to actually cross water though. So they say that we became the most deadliest creature in the world as soon as we were able to go into these places that were not able to evolve with us, right? So think North America, South America. Sapiens did not exist out there until 70 to 40,000 years ago. Things like Australia, and I'm going to dive deep into Australia here because it's one of the things that the book talks about, but Australia is obviously a big one. So yeah, we actually started able to start getting into these spaces. And I'm going to show y'all this picture because the way they describe all of these large mammals that were not, number one, they don't exist today. All of these large mammals that were on these other spots, they weighed tons, multiple tons. They span like 20 feet. And yeah, they were freaking beasts. Like here, I'll put an image up right here of what these things used to look like. And all in all, it's insane to think about how big they were. Obviously, with our skills that we learned, we were able to, hunt these things down, which we see today with our, when we were hunting mammoths. Obviously, we were hunting elephants and other large beasts and game for a long time. There actually talks about in here where there was a point in time, like, if you were a mammoth hunter, you were good. Like mammoths set you off straight. On top of the fact that they lived up north, so you could typically freeze their meat and save it for later. But yeah, so they talk about how we went to these places. I'm going to particularly talk about Australia, and we started killing things off, just to be honest. And I don't think so. I'm going to go back to that quote of, by giving language to experience, we now have the awareness of our conceptual models of the world, right? So when we went over there, we just understood, hey, we need to eat. We need to be able to hunt and gather. We were figuring those things out. Ultimately, I think we were probably looking to just expand because we were, growing too big for that area that we were in. Because like I said, we were now in a spot where we're having a large, more communities of people, not large communities, but communities of people. And sometimes people get driven out. So whatever it is, but they decided to say, hey, I want to try and go to Australia. They go to Australia, they meet massive beast. Like they talk about, America used to have camels. There were oversized lions. We had extremely large marsupials. They're just insane with how large these creatures were and the environment that they lived in. The big thing with this is, though, the animals, like I said before, in Afro-Eurasia, the spaces we were living, they grew in a way to fear us. These animals didn't fear us. Think about a tractor trailer looking at a human and thinking, oh, you can't, for whatever reason, harm me. There's no way. And then you ultimately get clapped, every few months. And the thing with these bigger animals is they don't have a whole bunch of babies every year. Like they're not having five, six things in a litter. And there are ultimately not a lot of them. So what they talked about is being able to just kill like one or two a month, or one or two every couple of months, is vastly faster than its ability to reproduce. And that was just kind of facts. So obviously we had no concept of that. We just needed to eat. We needed to figure out how we were going to do that. But because of how powerful now we had now become with the tools and all these things that we were coming into, we were able to attack and become, like I said, the top part of the food chain, the most dangerous beast, the most deadliest beast that has ever walked this earth. So really, all in all, just really, really cool to think about. They also talk about how we could have potentially, we were relatively masters of fire. And by this time we may have been looking to scorch the earth, open up our hunting fields, make, places where we could actually we're not farming yet. So it would literally just be to scorch the earth, open it up, allow for better fields to hunt in and different things like that. So with that being said, and the fact that I think around this time climate was changing a little bit, this caused a very, very severe decrease in a lot of the animals. Like if I could find the number, it was like 56, like there were like 65 total. We went down to like 56. It was massive numbers, and we were just, I know on average we had about 200 beasts that were over 100 pounds. And this also allowed us, so they talk about why do we move into these even colder spaces, right? So they talked about how we actually got over to America for the first time, Sapiens. And Sapiens, actually, we went up through the Siberia, which is ridiculously cold. We crossed the little channel when water was relatively low over in Alaska, and then we started migrating down from there. But the issue is, even get up there, it's extremely cold. Like never seeing a temperature over a couple of negative degrees or a couple of single digit degrees, right? This is how cold it gets up there. However, because of our ability to hunt, because of our ability to ultimately, I was talking about this before, but hunt down mammoths, people were actually thriving in these areas. So that allowed for, it's weird. It's like, hey, we learned all these things and now we are able to go venture out. But because of that, now we're stepping into spaces we are ultimately just completely wrecking these entire ecosystems. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, dang, we suck. We're this, we're that. Ultimately, we are a creature, we are a beast that is too smart for its own good. That's what I'm realizing. We're a beast that's too smart for its own good. We are a creature that it is literally can think around circles itself to ultimately justify why we would make a bad decision. I'm not going to get into any specifics there, but quite literally, we're just a native species that says, hey, we're too smart for our own good. We go out and do things, and then we learn from these experiences later. But we don't always sit here and say, hey, right, let me change this, right? We now just have an awareness of this concept. So now we then choose to either continue to do what we're doing or not. Another really cool thing that is not in this book, but I think really hits on what this book is talking about, and something I am referencing is there are levels of consciousness. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you just get into these levels, at certain points. No, there was a point in time where people could not go past level 3. And the reason that is because as communities grew larger, as more of these needs were immediately met, we could now start thinking and have brain capacity for other things. And that's when we could start thinking about, hey, our fellow man. That's when we could start thinking about, oh, why does my fellow man move like this? So I will attach a link in the description just so that you guys can go check that video. I think it's a really, really good video. I really enjoyed it. I actually think a lot of people nowadays probably operate, in that 6 to 7 at least, a lot of times. So yeah, let me know what you think. But yeah, I think it's really cool. Like, we were actually tiny, number one, and number two, the beasts that were on the earth were massive. Like literally walking tractor trailers. Like, we're talking about an armadillo right here. I'll put this picture up, but we're talking about an armadillo. It literally was 10 feet long and weighed 2 tons. It's literally a car. Like, it's insane. It's literally a tank. So that's all I wanted to kind of share right now. Next, we're going to be getting into the agricultural revolution. Biggest thing I want to say is that we're extremely deadly creatures that are just too smart for our own good. We started moving too fast. Nothing was able to evolve with us. And I think even more than that, the fact of like evolution, because I was thinking like there's no way, right? There's no way we evolved to this point and, you know, all these other things did it. No, the real reason is when we stepped out and we started dealing with things that did not experience us, right? That's when these massive things started happening. A lot would say like Australia couldn't be necessarily correlated with human interaction there, but things like New Zealand definitely were. So you can't really talk about anything there, or things like North America definitely were. Another really cool one that I think that people hear about or have heard is the Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands was an island that we did not get to until about 200 to 300 years ago. And that's why they have this extremely giant tortoise that doesn't care about us. But it's just really cool to think about like how if there was no human interaction, right? Away from society. I've always thought about that too. Like if we get so far away from society, what would it look like? The creatures would be bigger. There's probably a lot more just bustling and things going on. And ultimately like things, I'm not gonna say things would be happier, because it's the play of life, but yeah, everything is just a lot bigger. I don't know if we experience things all the time, but yeah, I think nowadays I barely see anything that's bigger than a dog. And when we see a dog, it's like, whoa, that thing is big. But there were things out here that were at least a dog size, and well beyond that. So I just wanted to share that. Like I said, that is the end of the the cognitive revolution. So our brains have now gotten to this point, and next we're going to start getting into agriculture. Agriculture is probably going to talk a lot about how we started staying and living in these particular spots. This forces us to have, you know, less diverse diets, obviously learn how to work the land a little bit more. Also a big thing that they talk about in the agriculture revolution is this idea of like religion and having faith in something. So we're going to probably get into a lot about gods, and different things of that. So maybe not necessarily religion, right? But we'll definitely be getting into like what gods look like and all these other things. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Sorry, I'm trying to keep these relatively short. This is going to be I guess a decently long video as well. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this. I am loving this. Definitely leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And yeah, if you want to read along with me, I will be starting chapter 5 tomorrow. So have fun, enjoy, and I'll catch you later. Peace.